Hey guys, today we're going to be putting together the Halfling stables, and this is they're Halfling stables because they're not quite tall enough for regular horses. They're actually very similar to the way many buildings would have been built in medieval and colonial times, with a fairly low clearance, but most of the time you'll have no trouble fitting dwarf or halfling miniatures in there. And the roof is a very stable platform for your other miniatures. So let's put it together. First thing you're going to need is a copy of your stables PDF printed out. Popup stables PDF printed out. Front and back on the first page, and the second page is blank on the back. If you're having trouble getting the pages to align, I'd recommend printing the pages and flipping them manually instead of having your printer print them automatically. You're also going to need some backing material. I've got 2 pieces of mat board that you could use, foam core, cardboard, anything you've got that is a little stiffer is going to provide some support. Tape, I got double-sided tape or glue. So, your X-Acto knife and some extra blades. A dried out ballpoint pen for scoring, and some scissors if you like that. So we're also going to need a ruler. Let me go grab that real quick. A ruler, which is good for scoring and helping you cut straight lines if you need that. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is put together our base. And to do that, first thing we're going to cut out these base pieces. And I like to leave about 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch along the outside so that I can get my tape pretty close to the edge, but I don't have to worry about getting it exactly to the edge. And then when I trim it, my tape will come all the way to the edge and provide a good, secure edge hold so that this the base doesn't peel up from the backing material. Base. I might refer to a lot of different things as the base. So that this paper doesn't peel off of this paper. Okay? It's all just paper all the way down. Here we go. And what I'm doing is where one piece is going to overlap another piece, I'm trimming right to the edge. And you could trim right to the edge on all the places like that on the interior lines, and then just find where the textures line up, which is pretty much how to put the base together. So that would work fine. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is attach these 2 pieces together. Just need a strip of tape down beside that center line. It doesn't have to be exactly there. The thicker your paper, the better off. I feel like the thicker the paper, the kind of less precise you have to be with your glue or tape. And this paper is, I think, 80-pound cardstock. You could do it with 60. I'd recommend 60-pound cardstock or above if you really want it to work like a pop-up. I've assembled them out of regular paper, but they're just not. The things don't work as good. You know, the stuff. It's not as good. You want good stuff. And I apologize if there's a little extra background noise. There's some construction work going on across the street, and I got a 3D printer going. I'm going to try to edit that noise out in post so that you get a nice clean audio, but we'll see. Hopefully you don't have to listen to that whirring and buzzing of equipment over there. Alright, so what you're going to want to do is line up the textures. You can kind of see where the green grass grows all around. And line that up as best you can. Tape it down. So we've got this piece. You know where that center line is? It's marked. It says base center line. And we're going to score along that line to ensure that our paper folds right there, because that's how this pop-up is going to work as a pop-up. If we don't do that, it'll never work. It'll never do. All right, so I am, I don't know if you noticed, just taping all the way around the edge here. And that's gonna make sure that the edge has a good hold to the backing material and ensure that it stays on. Once you've got your tape all the way around the edge, you're going to attach it right to that. And so here we go. What I like to do is put one piece of mat board on top of the other piece, and that ensures that there is a gap in between the two pieces. It needs to be somewhere between 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch. That's not true. Whoa, that's way too much. Okay. I misspoke. I'd like a 1/16 of an inch to 1/4 inch. 1/2 inch. If you make one that's 1/2 inch, because of what I said, you'd probably be okay, honestly. But 1/4 inch to a 1/16 of an inch, somewhere in there would be great. So then we're gonna line this up with the other one. Boom, bam. Okay, so you can see that gap in between, and that's gonna make sure that when this opens, it stays flat right away, which is what we want. We don't want to be waiting around for it to slowly open to flatness. So now I'm going to cut off the extra corners here. So we have a nice hexagon shape. That'll look real professional like. It's gonna look almost like we get paid to do this. Almost. Not quite. Trimming it up. Making a hexagon. This is where it gets complicated. Edges where it's just up to the edge. Might be better to use an X-Acto knife to get those super precise. All right. So now we've got our base. What we're going to do is score these parts. That means we're going to draw a line with our dried out pen from anywhere we see a little blue arrow to anywhere else we see a little blue arrow. And this one has some sort of complicated scoring. But if you forget, you can always go back. You know, it's not the end of the world if you don't score it. Let's see, I think this one. Okay, and here. You see some places where there's a blue arrow on one side and nothing on the other side. That's just a printing constraint thing. Just means keep scoring all the way to the edge. I think I've got, oh, that needs to be scored right there. You can kind of feel, if you've scored it properly, you can feel a little dent in the paper. So feel for that. If you can't feel something, go ahead and score it. Make sure that it's all scored. Okay, looks like it's all good. Let's do part number one. Part number one is going to be this big part here, and it's going to do almost everything. So there's a lot of interior white spaces. You're going to want to cut all of those out first. It'll be easier than waiting to cut them out last, I think. It is for me. And there's a lot of cutting on this part, but this part is really going to do almost all of the stuff for this pop-up. So don't get too bored doing it. Got a lot of fun, different types of cuts you have to do. I think the first time I rode a horse, sorry, this is stables, okay, that's where I'm coming from. It's a stables, I'm talking about horses. I went out to Kalispell, Montana, where my aunt and uncle were living at the time. And they were people that somehow like had a bunch of outdoor stuff going on, you know. Lumber, they were heavily involved in lumber at the time. And they had like a ranch or something I feel like they were involved in. Like they had to like brand the cattle. I remember branding or like being there while somebody was branding cattle. Anyway, so we went out to their ranch that they were associated with, and they gave us some of the older horses to ride on. This was a family reunion, so you know, a bunch of aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff were there. And my grandma, she fell off a horse. She fell off the back, kind of bucked a little bit. I think she might still be suffering the effects of that. I think it like broke something for good. All right, so don't lose this little piece. You're gonna need that. Just put it over here so you won't forget it. So, I mean, I've ridden on horses a couple of times since then, but always like some uncle or something has like a horse and we'll go ride it. For some reason on my mom's side of the family, there's like some involvement with horses there that never seems to be like entirely like, it's not like their job to, that they're not, I don't think any of them are farmers necessarily. Or ranchers, definitely. There's always some like involvement with horses. Okay, so this is the big part. Part number 1, and it's got some folds that are pretty simple. Basically, these tabs that glue down to the base where the grass is, those are valley folds. And the next fold up from them is a mountain fold. And then these on the other side are mountain folds. And then valley folds on the tabs with the grass and the stone on the other side. Now if you want, you can fold the middle. We'll valley fold right there, but you don't have to, really. Okay, so you can see where anywhere it's 1 to B, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are all going to be taped or glued at this point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some tape in half, make it a little easier to line up. Probably. Hopefully. Either that or I'll just waste a bunch of tape by taping it to this table. And it won't do any good at all. Okay, I got it. So attaching tape to every place where it's going to need to be taped down. 4, 3, on to be 1. Try to get my other piece of tape. Got it. Double-sided tape, I think, is stickier than normal tape. I don't know. In any case, horses. They always seem like they're more work than they're worth, unless you really love horses. Then, like, there's, you know, you get to hang out with horses, which is awesome. Lately, so you're going to line these up with the ground to see the textures. On this side, it's a board that lines up really nice. You just tape it or glue it on there. This side, you got the rocks that line up. This side, you got the grass. Anyway, I've been watching this show on Disney Plus. I think it's Life Below Zero, about people living in Alaska, out in the Alaskan bush. And there's these one guys that have sled dogs. It just seems like there's so much work that goes into taking care of the dogs. And they're like, we're saving on gas. But I don't know, man. I don't know if they are. Doesn't seem like they are. Okay. So that was part number 1. We now move to part number 2. Okay? Now parts number 2 and 3 are tab parts. So we're going to want to cut out the slots. And these are flaps. And they're going to hang down by the force of gravity. It's going to be pretty sweet. This is going to be sweet. So this is where we attach one of these. And these parts are basically identical, so you can really go on either side. But I think the instructions tell you which side they go on, but really either side works. Okay, and then what we're going to do is attach parts 4 and 5, which are these, they look like thin boards, and they're going to hold parts 3 and 4 in place. Again, they're pretty similar to each other, so doesn't really matter which side they go on, but it says specifically that 4 goes over here, so that's where I'm going to put it. And 5 goes over here. And so we'll just attach that, and that's going to make it so that those sides just fold right in, and they make a nice enclosed thing on the end. So now we're going to cut out parts 9 and 10 and attach 9 to part 2 and 10 to part 3. You're going to be like, wait, what? Did you skip some? Yes, I just skipped some. Sorry? I apologize. I did say we would maybe do this in numerical order, but we're like already working on those parts and everything, you know? So, let's see, that's that one. And that's the other one. We'll sign that says War Pony. This is where you're going to get your war ponies for your little miniatures and stuff. All right. So looks like this is part number 6. Some crystals, crystal growth, and sort of an unhealthy purple color. If I were you, I would not take these crystals and then like sleep with them next to your head, because they're probably cursed or like the product of some sort of corruption, deep evil lying dormant these many years. And with your meddling, You've unleashed that evil once again upon the mortal races, and so on and so forth. You'd think that you would be a little more considerate when it comes to ancient evils, but you're not, you know. You are just one of those people who can't not trigger evil events with your questing and so on. I don't know. I tried it out. Okay, so I'm playing D&D with my kids, right? And my theory was that, like, if I told them that they needed to, like, do some horrible thing because it was a quest, like, it wouldn't matter, like, who the quest giver was, anything like that, then they would do it, right? That was my theory. I'm like, these guys will do anything if it's a quest. Because that's what they're used to. You're in a game, you get a quest, you do the quest, and everything's great, right? So I tried it out. I had an NPC approach my players in D&D and tell them that, like, they're in a city. It's Eberron, so they're in, like, Sharn, right? And I told them that, like, this character comes up and tells them that, like, all of the old women in the city are witches, right? All of them. And that they all needed to be killed for safety. And so I was like, you got to kill 100 old women. That's the quest. Because they're all witches. And they're like, okay, all right, well, where do we find them? Where do we find them? No proof, nothing. So that's why I backed it up. I didn't follow through with it. Wasn't gonna have them actually do it. I used it as a teaching moment. I was like, just because it's a quest doesn't mean you have to do it, you know. So this is piece number 7 is a support beam, and it goes right in there, and it just attaches to the roof right there. And piece number 8 goes right next to it. They're gonna look real good next to each other. So anyway, just because you get a quest doesn't mean you have to do it. Kind of sucks though if it feels like some of the story is locked behind a quest that you don't want to do, right? One example that comes to mind is in Skyrim. You're walking around and you're poking into stuff. You hear a rumor about some kid who wants to put out a hit on somebody, and you wander into the situation. You don't really get any choices to say, "Oh no, that's stupid." You kind of get railroaded onto this quest where you're just supposed to kill somebody because they're mean, right? Like they're mean, sure, but like, does that deserve death? And so either you like leave that quest sitting forever, which is kind of tough, or you go kill this random person for just being mean, right? Which is it's all pretty unrealistic anyway, right? Like, weapons weren't that effective in olden times, okay? For one thing. So, really, if you attack somebody, they had a pretty good shot of living anyway, right? or most fights, most battles would only see like 10% casualties on like the really high end. So really what you're looking at is like, what do you do with the other 90%? That's the real thing that happens in medieval times, is figuring out what to do with the 90% of people that you didn't kill in the battle that are still alive, and they're like, well, do you want us to like stick around? Can we go now? You know, are they prisoners of war? Are they now your servants or whatever? You own their lands, so now you're their master. Do you have them join your army? A lot of them, you know, they're just fighting because somebody told them they had to. You conscript them, and now they're your guys. Fight. I don't know. But I would love to have the chance to make a game that asks you those questions, right? That says, no, all of these guys didn't fight to the death. That's not how it works. They saw the battle was going poorly. They saw they were outnumbered or outmatched, and they surrendered. And now you got to figure out what to do with them. So this piece number 11 just goes in between parts number 1 and part 12, and you could attach it before you do part 12, I guess, but I didn't. Wasn't paying attention to the numbers because I was talking about stuff. And there you go. That is your pop-up stables. Fold it flat a little carefully and firmly the first time, and you're done. You should be able to find these on stonehavenmini.com. Thanks for watching.